Stillborn to Life, a novella by Valerie Lynn Stevens. Chapter 20. I stand in the recital hall upon the day that I am to carry out my decision. The pianist plays, his fingers, tiny fervent wings warbling over the keys, flight of the hummingbird. Now, an alternate method of playing demonstrates itself as the young man leans forward into the regal, ebony and ivory-toothed beast to pluck at its innards like a harpist, creating an amalgam of sense and wonderment with which to feast the soul's ear upon. Some pieces are reminiscent of murder mystery film scores, very abstract, dark, and moody, as they shift in intervals from adagio, lachrymose and ominous, to allegro, presto, thundering, rumbling, and manic, creating within this listener a simultaneous sense of euphoric rapture and impending doom. And one feels an odd sensation of the original composer's presence in the hall, as the young pianist plays on and the piece gives testimony to man in imago divinis. And God formed Adam from the dust of his earth, where he roamed its fecund alone for days, searching for sky where solid ground lay, reticent yet rumbling, hot and quick beneath his feet. Yet his nubile, nescient mind had grown a thickened skin, where the shock of something he had named longing in some quixotic tongue wetted the parched matters of his flesh at the sight of his Father Creator, drinking him in. Just then, split-shifting his belief that truly nothing did fill the space between sky and substrata, breaking him thus into one. But soon, very soon, would he be split into multiples of two, losing himself infinitely within their ever-complexifying fractal images of Creator and Self. And thus would most of his days in this incarnation be consumed with the fine art of spiritual cultivation and sustainment. Yet despite the sorrow and grief this would bring him, he also somehow knew how equally inexhaustible would be his continual renewal and reward. And this was the root of his faith in his achievements, his greatest triumphs and defeats. I stand now upon the leper's ledge. The sky lets out a warning as the ground shivers in apocalyptic suspense. The faint form of a man appears just beyond the vertical horizon of the mountain-splitting sea. Rock and rain, the things of which man is so fearfully and wonderfully made, a constant dueling of dualities, kept stoked by the incendiary, multifold doctrinal commands of the existential liberation and blissful veneration of all forms of micro-macrocosmic management. Like water to stone, the things of which all are made. Psyche to soma, soma to psyche, spirit to flesh, flesh to spirit, a continual baptism to impurification, a cycle dynamically and concentrically consistent and kinetic. For life is best felt as an endless barrage of stones skipped over the surface tension of an infinite continuum of perfectly still waters. The diaphanous image of the man on the vertical horizon of mountain-splitting sea upon which I glanced but a moment ago has dispersed now, leaving in its place the air up there. I watch all of this from the leper's ledge, which is quite homey for supposedly being the loneliest place on the earth. But the leper sees only his own beatific image, reflected in the beauty and majesty of his surroundings, and so I let him be, and do not burden him with mine. In solitary sublimement, I find and claim once more my oppressed and maimed spirit, which had been awoken by the gentle caress of God's creation, so benevolent yet omnipotent, it is in its reign. The billowing breeze strokes the statuesque trees with its wispy fingers, rejuvenating all of my senses, restoring my innocence. God is here, soothing my world-weary soul, reminding me of true solace and where it lies, not merely within that divinity mirrored through God's creation outside of oneself, but that divinity which lies within each individual self, the Spirit's eye of truth and justice, always watching over all sentient beings plagued by worldly impiety and corruption. And this is a truth which, when sought out and allowed to be the only eye through which one sees, shall bring to slow fruition a sanative, beautifying rebirth. For such things seen through the mere anatomical eye will be robbed of their depth perception. Such things, when tasted of with only the soft, sweetly savoring palate, will be robbed of their true sustenance. Such things felt only through the tactile sense will only numb down and dumb down the human essentia. And often as such things, merely vocally defended, are in doubt within the defendant, certainty is akin only to silence and inaudible contemplation. For such things, seeking and finding resolution in the absence of inward reflection elude true wisdom and merit. As such things of immediate resonance, claiming forthwith to be heard, have truly fallen on deaf ears. I rush to the ends of the shore to shelter myself from the weathered waters of the world tide, where the ebon earth has lain for me a blameless blanket of landscape, soil, and solace. I rush to the ends of the shore to shelter myself from that choleric, sullen sun, where sanguine saplings of benevolent bark await in the shade to cradle me within their spindly limbs and clothe my shame with their flora and fauna. I rush to the ends of the shore to shelter myself from all of the unruly elements that I alone cannot master, where unity and harmony await, within a quiet, humble surrender to my utter impotence and finitude. Now, here, standing upon the beach, in the middle of everywhere, I am released into the vortex of omniscience as a tidal wave of revelation washes over me. I, a minuscule mote of creation amongst an infinity of creations, still stand, feeling somehow my own significance in all of this. Yet it is a humbling kind of pride, for even the grains of sand upon which I glance and let run through my fingers and make my ephemeral imprint humble my soul, for I have only begun to grasp the concept of Him, as the round, calcified chalices of my knees and the calloused balls of my well-trodden feet surrender their reverent hollows to the warm sands of the fathomless Creator God, the Alpha and the Omega. And thus does the end of all ends begin, and the beginning of all beginnings he sends upon his gentle, sustaining breath of life, the winds. Since the 5 years ago that I arrived at what then felt like my final destination, and the building of the police station loomed before me, although execution for my crimes has finally arrived, I feel freer than I ever have in my life. I am 37 years old, yet have lived many lifetimes. The prison guards arrive to shackle me and lead me to my final penance. I walk down the narrow corridor, the clanking of the chains proclaiming my fate for so long delayed. Yes, now I will return, making full recompense for all I have stolen and all that I have taken out of turn. In death will I finally embrace life. The electricity now shoots through the highly charged conductor of my mortal vessel. I hear heaven. I see all of those whom I have violated and pillaged from, floating in synchronous swirls to the fluctuating gentle tides of vindication. I feel an odd sense of only ecstasy and utter union. There is no more encumbrance. I am free to fly. There is no more of alone, only total celestial enmeshment and release. And as such indescribable weightlessness slowly consumes me, I find abolition from those shackles and chains of banal profanity which my former life's fruitless searches upon that God-made but devil-harvested earth had wrought upon me. Yet up here, nothing spoils, nothing toils, nothing boils in the agony of its own defeats or remorse. The body is in a form you cannot yet fathom, to no longer be scathed or face the indignities and ravages of petty lust and constrictive concupiscence. Up here, the intangibles are no longer deemed the insubstantials. On the contrary, they are the very substance which composes and infuses the atmosphere with its very substance and existence. Up here, words no longer need be spoken. There is no need or want for anything anymore. Up here, nothing needs compensation or absolution. Yes, up here, it all speaks for itself.